Hi, I am Dr. Sajid, and you are watching my video in the physiology. And you can contact me on my WhatsApp number. You also seen my email address.
Regulation of the body functions. Regulation, the ability of an organism to maintain a stable internal condition in a constantly changing environment. There are three types of the regulations. This may be either chemical regulation, or you call it the hormonal regulation. There may be a nervous regulation, and there is a auto regulation as well. The chemical regulations or hormonal regulation, hormone are the substances which are released from the ductal gland or endocrine glands, and they respond very slowly, act extensively, and last for a longer time. So these are the chemical or hormone regulation. Nervous regulation, a process in which the body functions are controlled by the nervous system through the pathways, nervous reflex, and there are two types of the reflexes: unconditioned reflex and the conditioned reflex. For example, the baroreceptor reflex to maintain the blood pressure, and the characteristics of the nervous regulations are they respond very fast, quick, then they act exactly or locally, and they last for a short period of the time. This is the peculiarity of the nervous regulation of the types. The regulation of the body functions, there are three regulations have coordinated and act as a one system, and it's called the feedback systems. Then what is the hemostasis? Hemostasis is maintaining the internal environment in response to the changes which are takes place exteriorly outside the body. For example, when there is a high temperature, when there is a low temperature. So to maintain the body internal environment, this mechanism is called hemostasis. The changes condition of the external environment, the changing condition of the internal environment. Feedback mechanism. Feedback is a process in which some of the output signals are passed back to the input. That is called feedback mechanism. There are two types of the feedback mechanism: the negative feedback, when the response diminishes the original stimulus, and the positive feedback, when the response enhances the original stimulus. The negative means when the final response is just exactly reverse of the initial stimulus, and the positive feedback means it potentiates or enhances the initial response. The feedback mechanism have certain essential components, and these components form the loop. And this loop or this feedback mechanism started from the stimulus. When there is a stimuli or change in the environment and change in the normal ideal condition, then there is a receptor which receive these changes, which detect these changes, which is occurred due to the stimuli. Then there is a relay. It means that this relay that transmit these signals, either it may be through the nerves or through the hormones or both, to the effect types. The regulation of the body functions, there are three regulation have coordinated and act as a one system, and it's called the feedback control. Negative. Then negative feedback mechanism, whenever there is a stimulus applied, then the homeostatic condition, then there is a receptor which receive this stimulus, then the signal goes to the control center, the control center order the effectors, and then this from the effector there is a response, so that the change is now correct. Now the positive feedback, the stimulus, then the homeostatic condition, same as the receptor and the control center, which give information to the effectors, and the response is on the same direction at the initial stimulus, or it potentiates the response of the. There are two types of the feedback mechanism: the negative feedback, when the response diminishes the original stimulus. For example, to maintain the blood glucose level, whenever there is an increased blood glucose level, hormone insulin is secreted, and which normalize the blood glucose level. Then there is a positive feedback mechanism which is enhance the response. The examples are whenever the baby suck the milk from the mothers, from the nipples, there is a stimulus which causing the release of the hormone prolactin, and this prolactin is further increase the secretions of the milk or release of the milk. Then there is a feed forward control, a direct effect of the stimulus on the control system before the action of the feedback signal. Basically, it is the anticipation that need for the change to occur before something is going to happen. So it's mainly the anticipation. This feed forward control, the example of the feed forward control is the sight of the smell of the food producing the saliva, secretion of the HCl when the food enters the stomach, shivering before driving in the cold water, or withdrawal reflex due to the pain stimulus. Then there's another thing is called the adaptive control. Adaptive control refers to the control system in which the initial conditions disturbance which need to control keep on fluctuating. Then what there is a gain of control system. It means that the degree of the effectiveness with which a control system maintains constant condition is determined by the gain of negative feedback. You also said that the gain of the control system is the degree of effectiveness of the control system. And in the equation, you can express that the gain is equal to correction divided by the error. For example, when we blood pressure regulation, the blood pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by the moving column of the blood on the lateral wall of the blood vessels. And the baroreceptors are the receptors that detect this change in the blood pressure. When there is a change in the blood pressure, for example, the effectiveness of the baroreceptor is minus. So there is no baroreceptor. The normal mean arterial blood pressure is 100 millimeter of mercury, and infusion of the 1 liter, the normal person blood pressure raised to the 175 millimeter of mercury. Term is -2, and there is also another term used as a vicious cycle. The positive feedback may sometimes be harmful for the body and leads to death. This is termed vicious cycle. Vicious cycle, the example is that when there is a decreased blood volume, then there is a decreased cardiac output, which further decrease the blood flow to the heart, which leads to decreased pumping action of the heart, then which further decrease the cardiac output. So it may lead to death because of the decreased heart. And there is automaticity. The cell benefit from the hemostasis, and hemostasis is maintained through the cells, so that they both are work with each other.